Hello everyone and welcome to my review of Apex Legends on PC. First and foremost, I would love to say that I will be trying to make this video as unbiased as possible, but I will mention that placing fairly well and winning my first game to begin with, and not even having played the tutorial, may heavily sway my enjoyment for this specific kind of game. Because I like winning, I apologize. Also, this video will be split up into categories, so if you would like to TLDR or skip to specific points, please feel free to do so. There will be timestamps in the description below. If you don't want to watch the whole video, I completely understand that and value that your time is important to you. Either way, let's begin. I think that every review should have a few key points and factors to speak on, and for mine, I would like to first talk about my first impressions, gameplay, graphics, connectivity, and then close with some critique and criticisms to show some of those points and a few closing thoughts. Now, starting with my first impressions of the game, I guess I could say that I was confused. I think that's the right way to feel, having heard nothing about the game until it just coming out, and then scratching my head at the general of its existence because I thought that Titanfall 3 was supposed to come out. And then after that I was just like, oh look, it's another Battle Royale game that's styled like Overwatch with hero abilities and trying to do some 1v100 cash cow, let's go, let's grab as much money from this as we can from Respawn Entertainment. And then since that the price point was free, I decided, you know what, let's give it a try. And granted, ever since I started playing it, I really enjoyed the game. At the first entry of the game, having some general knowledge of how Battle Royales work and having some friends carry me for my first win before even playing the tutorial, like I've mentioned earlier, and I guess that's part of the bias there, I really started to play it more and more, and I really enjoyed playing Lifeline, and that's probably why you're going to see a lot of Lifeline clips here, since that's just who I enjoy playing the most currently. And speaking of gameplay, I think now's a good time to transition into that. The gameplay for this Battle Royale I feel is very clean, and the reason I say clean is because movement feels very precise. I don't feel like I'm wasting a lot of time trying to fiddle with inventory like I felt with PUBG and some of the other Battle Royales that have come out. And the ping system, oh man, let me tell you about the ping system, it feels so good. Being able to identify and ping targets is super clean and nice, and being able to double-click a simple ping to be able to ping a location where enemies have been, or being able to ping specific loot, or pop-ups of other specific things like specific type of loot, and then have that pop up for your teammates so they can see clearly where it is instead of having to go spend about 20 minutes where you left those rounds and then having to articulate specifically which dumpster beside which colored building and all this other stuff. That's just a bunch of extra jumbled nonsense that you really don't need to waste time talking about. The ping system feels great, and I really commend this game for doing so. It's just good. Also, another point about the gameplay that I'd like to speak on is the mobility. The mobility feels great. Being able to slide down hills to build up momentum and go faster, or rather maintain momentum, I should say. Climbing up walls is super cool to get to more advantageous spots in the game, and no fall damage eliminates that need to spend extra time getting around a mountain to be able to go somewhere. You can just fall down the mountain and be just fine. Which, sure, that's not 100% realistic, and there's no jump jets to explain why you can fall down, you know, X amount of feet or yards or what have you, just dropping football fields down. That's not explained, but that's besides the point. I know it's not realistic, but I don't need it to feel realistic because it just feels nice to not spend that extra time of having to worry whether or not you can take this fight or get to that location. You can just go. You just go, and it feels great. Because of that stuff, Apex Legends has definitely touched on a few of the gameplay issues that I've had with other games like this, and being able to experience it in this kind of new light really makes it feel good for me as a player to be able to just enjoy it. Now, I will say that there is one thing I don't like in not being able to just queue as a solo player without a team. I don't necessarily enjoy that because I did like that from being able to queue solo squads in PUBG, and also being able to do that in Fortnite just felt really fun to be able to try and see how well you can do by yourself against teams, but not being able to do that in this game, it's not like a make or break for me, but it's just something that I've noticed that I don't really enjoy as much. If I want to play, I definitely want to play with a squad, especially if my squad just randomly leaves me for whatever reason. Now, next I would definitely like to talk on the visuals. I think personally they're fantastic. Granted, it's no crisis of its time, but I think it's definitely a good outlook on what visuals should be in a video game of our current time. I think it's great. Also, if you're wondering about my current specs on my PC, I will definitely be throwing up some information on the screen now so you can see the kind of PC that I'm running this game on. give you a better idea of what I'm using personally. Granted, I've used this on lower graphical settings, and I think the game still looks fantastic, as well as what is in the game, the foliage type of the game, the different dynamic of areas that you go to, from the desert to the forests, and of course all of the things going on in the background that you would not otherwise pay much attention to. But of course, the game is visually, in my opinion, pretty decent, and I think it's good, especially for its time. However, with a game like Apex Legends, I would definitely say that my most important concern with the game is connectivity. And with any game like this, like PUBG or Fortnite or what have you, being able to connect and play with other people is, of course, the important thing to do. But being able to connect and play with your friends, especially in a more team-oriented one where you have to have 3 people on your team to play the game, and if somebody gets disconnected, then you're just at a significant disadvantage, and sometimes that gets really frustrating, especially if the game's connectivity is having issues. However, I will mention that I think that the connectivity issue isn't really a factor with Apex Legends as the game itself. I think it's more an issue with Origin not being able to correctly hold the load of people that are currently playing the game. It's definitely picked up a lot of popularity. It came up out of nowhere, and a lot of people are thinking the same way I did. It might suck, but it's free to play, so why not? I'll give it a shot. And come to find out, there's a lot of people that just really happen to like the game. And I totally understand that the criticisms of other people just not enjoying it, because a lot of the Titanfall community were like, hey, where's Titanfall 3? Titanfall 3 got canceled for this. And I completely understand and sympathize with that. But I will mention that the connectivity of the game, because of its popularity, I think, is overloading Origin. And a lot of people have had Origin problems in the past. I've personally had issues with Origin where I'm not able to correctly log into games, or something's just not working correctly, and it just doesn't really, it's not exciting. It sucks. And being able to actually play this game with people and have your friends play, it's great. But sometimes I have had issues where my friends list doesn't connect correctly. My friends list isn't online. Sometimes I get disconnected from Origin and it's just everybody's offline and nobody can see my online status on Origin, and I just can't connect and play with friends. And that's happened a few times with this game. But I don't think that that is technically an issue of Apex Legends. I honestly believe that that is an issue coming from Origin's side and not being able to handle the server load of people trying to connect or disconnect from all the accounts. Just it's like a DDoS happening, only just it's too many people trying to log in and out of Origin constantly, and it's just shutting Origin servers down. Not so much the game itself. So I will say that connectivity is kind of a little strange, but it's also the first week of this game that just kind of came out of nowhere, and it's starting to pick up a lot of popularity. So I would definitely wait on saying that the game's unplayable, but it does have some issues, and I've definitely noticed some server lag issues, and I think that's connected to the amount of people that are certainly showing interest in this game, and all of them having to deal with that sort of thing. Now, let's talk about my personal criticisms, some closing thoughts and critique. The critique I'd give the game is that for starting out, just clean up some of the connectivity issues. There's definitely, I think, some that need to be cleaned up on Origin side, but I'm not so sure about specifically the game itself side, but I know that it definitely needs some work, because not being able to see your friends online or see invites correctly, just hopefully within the upcoming week or two, all of that will be dealt with and it'll be good, and just it'll be a good game. Aside from connectivity issues, gameplay wise, I really want to touch on the toxic hero in the game, otherwise known as Caustic. I think that the character design for this particular legend in the game is really cool, but the ability to just sit in an area and get your whole team healed and people can't really push you, and then he can just sit, watch, and make sure no one comes in. I just feel like it's really difficult to push a character that plays like that. I don't really like having, there's already a smoke cloud character, so why give somebody a just infinitely better smoke cloud as one of his abilities, and the passive to be able to see people in the smoke cloud? That it just doesn't make sense to me to have 2 smoke cloud characters in the game. But that's just a personal criticism that I would give the game. I don't really know if it makes the game better or worse, but in my personal opinion, from dealing with it, I would much rather deal with Bangalore than Caustic any day of the week, because at least her smoke cloud, that's cool. She can use it to get away, but he can use his smoke cloud to not only get away, but damage anybody that gets inside, and also prevent their movement and make it harder for them so they can't run and slide. They have to literally walk through the smoke screen. So just having to deal with that and fighting is just so much more difficult than I personally think it needs to be in the game. Granted, again, personal opinion, agree or disagree with me, completely fine. But that's just another personal critique that I would give this game. Though, other than that, usually I'd give a lot more criticisms about the game, but I think since it's so early in its stages, I don't really want to say anything too desperately demeaning, because there's not really much negative for me to say about the game just yet, other than connectivity issues and that one particular hero in the game that I just do not think should personally be in the game. But that's just me. I don't know what your opinion is, and that's why I'd like for you to leave a comment below so you can tell me what you think. What do you think they should change? What do you think there should be new modes? Do you think there should be more weapons? I definitely think later down the line there should be more weapons or grenades and what have you, but for now, I don't know. I just want to see what the game turns into. And of course, sorry to all of those Titanfall fans out there that didn't get Titanfall 3, and instead we got this Battle Royale game that you guys were definitely not expecting, and I don't really think anybody was really expecting. Anyway, guys, love to hear from you, and I can't wait to hear from you in the next one as well. All right, peace.